Call the meeting to order. Looks like 7:01. Scott, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, presentations, proclamations, and visitors. I can't see. Do we have any presenters?
No.
No presentations, no proclamations, correct?
Correct.
And then is anybody there for public comment?
No.
Okay, consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Sounds
Sorry,
like it passes unanimously.
I think we missed approving the agenda as well.
Consent agenda, I don't
No.
see it on my list.
In the,
Doug, the first, right after the flag, we have to do the consent, the agenda itself.
Oh, okay.
So I'll
So
move
do we
it.
already
I'll
move
just,
the
it's presented.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So consent agenda, we need to redo the consent agenda.
No.
Okay, so we're all good.
Yep.
Public hearings, no.
Nope.
Old business, no.
Nope.
Okay, new business. 6A sewer water storm transportation SDC proposal. Westcheck and Donovan.
Hi, Mayor Council, CA Harding here to present staff report. So we've talked to council earlier about bringing a proposal forward to update our system development charges. That's the acronym for SDCs. And what system development charges are is a charge that new development pays for their impact on our infrastructure in our community. So when we talk about growth pays for growth, and we don't want to subsidize growth with the community, that's precisely the intent of system development charges. And so periodically, what we want to do is relook at those and update those for things like updated cost of projects. As we know, in the last few years, the costs of projects have risen at a rate that you can't anticipate by normal inflationary escalators. And we've had some of our facility plans updated. As you know, the big one would be, well, one, our park master plan, but the other one that we did recently was the wastewater facility capital plan to include the new wastewater facility. And so currently those numbers are not included in the charges that we charge new development. And since we're on the cusp of getting some new growth, we think we need to go ahead and get these updated. Donovan's company, so West Tech Engineering is our engineering firm, and a lot of the information they're going to have available through a lot of the work that they do through helping with our capital facilities projects and our capital facilities plans. So they're going to work in concert with a sub-consultant, which is, we're proposing Donovan. He does a lot of this work for cities. He's very quick. If you look at the timeline in the back of the proposal, he's got a Gantt chart back there with the timeline. This is a three to 4 month project, start to finish. And so we do need to get this done fairly quickly. The price is very reasonable. It's very comparable to what we've paid in the past. And we're going to update all of them. Now, the one that we haven't updated that's not on here is the park master plan. And we had our park plan consultant working on that. And He's just been a little behind, but we do anticipate bringing that forward for adoption, probably at the same time. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any questions or you need more information.
I don't have any questions. No questions. So do we have an action item on this? I don't see the motion sheet. Do we need a motion on this?
Yeah, and I think the motion is basically to accept the proposal submitted in the packet by West Tech Engineering.
So do we have a motion to accept this proposal?
I'll move to approve West Tech Engineering's proposal for system development updates for sewer, water, storm, and transportation in an amount not to exceed $42,943.
Second.
Any more discussion?
We have a motion and a second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, looks like it passes. So next up is the fuel supply proposal, site preparation and equipment purchase and installation.
Yeah, Matt Etzel, Assistant Public Works, Director. So before you have the, fuel tank and site preparation for the new fuel, system at Public Works. We, talked about this at the tour and it's been discussed in previous council meetings. The idea is that we will have a card reader fueling system at Public Works. One, it'll benefit us because the police department won't be having to go to a fueling station out of town to fuel up anymore. They can do that at our Public Works facility. The other benefit of this project is it'll help us with emergency preparedness. We'll have more fuel on hand in the event we have another ice storm or any kind of natural disaster. We'll be able to operate, for several weeks, up to a month, with normal operations. So, happy to answer any questions. Some of the proposals are a little bit different. You'll see, some of the people that we solicited bids from only offer the tank and they don't offer the fueling system. Others offer the fueling system, but not the tanks. So I tried to put together kind of a comprehensive list of what each item cost. And then our suggestion or recommendation is to go with the Pratham co-op proposal because they're proposing, it's like a 2-year-old fuel tank that they removed from the Albany airport. They had an expansion and needed to move the tank and needed to get a bigger tank because they got a rental fleet. And so we could benefit by a lower cost in the tank by purchasing that used tank. Plus it has all of the monitoring equipment and stuff that we would have to buy if we bought a new tank already attached to it. So happy to answer.
And we can still buy parts and everything for the equipment that we get,
Yeah,
the monitoring equipment and everything.
yeah, the used stuff, it's all some of the same equipment that was proposed in the others. Like there's the way they explained it to me is there's a pulser that a certain kind of flow meter that talks to the fueling card reader system, and that's required. And that's already attached to that Pratham tank. So all that stuff is stuff that we would have to buy anyway. So it's included in a lower cost.
Sounds good. Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, so there'll be 2 motions with this. One, we got proposals to do the site work, and that's excavate out a driveway, pour a concrete pad, prepare the site for with electrical and underground to set the tanks on. And then there will be a proposal for the fueling equipment.
I mean,
Okay,
there's
so
gonna be
that's one for 24,655 and then one for 44,508.
Correct.
very containment underneath the.
So what we found is we talked to the fueling supplier, and what's required for fueling, gasoline fueling is just a concrete pad. We have a drainage at Public Works that we could put out containment in if we need to, if there was ever a spill. The fuel tanks are dual contained themselves. So they're double walled. They don't have to, you don't have to have a secondary containment with the fuel tanks that we quoted. And the reason why we did that as well is the only other option you have is to go to your sewer system, and without it being covered, then that extra rainwater would go into our sewer system on a regular basis, and we wanted to try to avoid that if possible.
So it would go behind the new Public Works building where you showed us?
Yeah, the site plan I think was included in the packet, but behind our main wastewater lift station is where the site will be, behind the new Public Works building. And we have power, internet, everything we need there to run those fuel tanks. So, and it's on backup power. That area is on a backup generator for the lift station. So in the event we do lose power and we're in an emergency situation, we'd still be able to access that fuel through that pump station.
Yeah, okay, I see it now. Any more discussion? Any more questions? We have a motion.
I move to approve the Canyon Contracting LLC proposal for site preparation in the amount of $24,655 from Fund 16 as presented by staff.
Second.
Okay. Moved in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Looks like it passed unanimously.
There, we get.
I will
Any
move,
motion for the second one?
move to approve the Pradham Co-op proposal for the fuel tanks and card reader in the amount of $44,508.92 from Fund 16 as presented by staff.
Second.
Okay, moved in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
So the next one looks like we have 6C additional account signers, Counselor Cox, Counselor Hudson, and Scott, you were added,
Yes.
okay? We have a
Uh,
motion.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council, so CA Harding. Yeah, this was just a motion that we need to bring forward to add signers onto the account. There's been a desire to have some additional signers so they could rotate through and experience what it's like to go through the check vouchers and sign the checks. Sometimes you're going to get a little writer's cramp because there will be, sometimes there's a lot of checks to do. We process checks. We try to process them about every 2 weeks or so, just depending on the circumstances. You know, we may do a batch sooner or a batch later. And then if this is approved tonight, we'll have 6 of our 7 council as signers on the operations account. And we'll try to rotate through availability. So we'll go down a list, try to give everybody at least one opportunity here and there to sign. So if you approve this, basically what it is if you could read the motion as it's presented with the 3 signers' names into the record, we'll take those minutes and we'll take those to the bank with a form, and then the bank will accept those minutes. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
Doug, do
Yes.
you officially sign as Doug or is it Douglas?
Douglas,
Okay, Because we do need to read it that way then.
Greg, are you Gregory?
You wouldn't tell from the signature. Yeah, you would never know, but I am.
But it
Gregory.
has to match your driver's license.
I am Gregory,
Because
yeah.
you will have to provide your driver's license to the bank.
Yeah.
So,
It's Gregory.
Tell you that they accepted Katie for me, even though my license says Catherine.
I'm
a
not
lot of
Scotty.
times, it depends on who you get there.
Not Scott?
That's what I'm gonna tell you.
Not Scotty.
Scotland.
We'll forget we ever heard that. So do we have a motion that somebody want to read that with those full names in it?
I move to approve Douglas Cox, Gregory Hudson, and Scott Lee as authorized signers for the city of Aumsville's Riverview Community Bank account ending in 0967, effective January 27th, 2025.
Second.
Okay, moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Okay. Ron, you're up next with the city administrator report.
Excellent. Well, before I do that, I'll just touch on the process. So I believe there's a form that you would fill out for the signers. And I'm not sure if we have those tonight or if they'll come to City Hall and get them. You have them.
I've got him. Doug will have to visit.
Okay. So we'll have you fill out the form and then we'll take all that to the bank. And then just as you get an opportunity, you can go to the bank and sign on a card.
And also before
Okay.
you begin, I'd like to apologize. We're gonna have a pop-up probably every 15 minutes that's saying we need to update this computer. We ran through this earlier. We were in here for 30 minutes and it didn't do it once. And then, of course, you know Windows, so sorry about it.
Okay, well, that's okay. It'll be a nice distraction from Ron's presentation.
You'll get a break.
Ron's very long presentation.
I had a little bit of excitement.
All right, so my report tonight, Mayor Council, is our State of the City presentation. And as council knows, I try to do this in January every year. And the State of the City presentation has really three objectives. One is it's a communication tool for me to the council so that we can provide you kind of a report of the culmination of work that we've done, but also the challenges that we face. And it just gives you an opportunity to see everything kind of in one storyboard versus bits and pieces of actions that we take throughout the year. It's also a communication tool for the community because it provides an opportunity for the community to view some of the accomplishments that we've had through the year and perhaps celebrate that, but also for them to view what the challenges are in kind of that holistic view, that one picture. Now, obviously, we have plenty of meetings where we talk about all of these things, and usually it's individualized. It might be a water project challenge or a sewer or something like that. But the presentation itself is just intended to kind of roll it all up into one presentation. So my theme this year, because I remember a number of years ago, and we talked about this at the retreat, I gave you the analogy that, you know, we're trying to find pieces to a puzzle and build a picture, right? And as part of that vision plan, we use that analogy with the community, right? You know, imagine what your vision is, and we need these little pieces, and one might be economic development, and one might be infrastructure projects or parks or livability, whatever those things that are important to you are. So we've been doing that. We started off, council created some goals. We developed a vision. We took that out to the community and approved a vision plan. It was kind of our marching orders around where our goals that had community support, or, you know, did we need to revisit those? And it turned out that they did really align a lot with what our community thought, at least at that moment in time. And so So really that analogy that we're,
Too far away.
I don't think my clicker's working. Okay, I will click and you're gonna go.
Oh, maybe it's not you. Hmm. Oh, okay.
Okay, there we go. Okay, now it's working for me. There we go. So those 5 goals that we had talked about, provide, and maintain municipal facilities and infrastructure to support current operations and or growth. That's one of the things when we did our reset, when we did our goal setting session and our retreats with council, when we did our outreach to the community, it was clear that we really needed to concentrate on infrastructure, that we've had some failing infrastructure and we were getting far behind, and we really needed to have a plan to catch up on that. And that was that we heard that echoed both in those community-wide meetings as well as in our retreats. Support and encourage community involvement to create a sense of community and enhance livability. You will see that theme throughout this presentation. We have really concentrated on both transparency and inclusiveness with our community, and we've concentrated on raising the view of the community about the city and the city operations. Now, I'm not saying that not everybody feels that way, but if you look at our platforms across all of our social media platforms and just our interactions with people in the community, they're much more positive today than they were just a few years ago, and that was important. Created an environment to attract and retain and grow business, ensure safe and prepared environment. It says for business, but it probably should say for the community and businesses. We kind of roll all that into one. Provide city services that are responsive to citizens and demonstrate good stewardship. So we'll go through each of those. So goal 1, and I'm going to repeat some of these. Some of this information will get rolled up back into accomplishments, but I do want to tie them to each goal. So in our water and sewer, we did drill a new well this year in Porter Boone Park. That project was completed. We did complete the 1 million gallon storage reservoir and pump station improvements. You were able to tour that last week at your retreat. And I think that that's probably one of the, highest quality facilities we have in the city. It's brand new. It was engineered to withstand a good lifespan. And so it's just a really nice facility. The East Side Park was included in the urban growth boundary this year. That's a project we've had on our list for a while and finally was able to move that forward, which means now it's inside the city limits. Approved our park master plan, got that updated to include that park. That was a component of getting that park included. 3rd Street improvements are done. The only thing they have left to do out there, I believe, is some striping. Otherwise, I think that project's completed. Our new public works facility is complete and closed out. We actually signed all the closeout papers today on that, and I think you got to tour that as well during the retreat. It's a nice facility. It gives the public works department an opportunity to organize and maintain equipment and conduct organized operations out of that one single facility. Install new servers. It seems like every few years we've got to update the servers these days. Technology moves really quickly. And then we're going to be implementing our financial software. That's a multi-year project. We approved it a couple of years ago, and I think this is the year that we'll be implementing it. So just to give you a snapshot of our grants efforts, I think that's important because I know this was important to council. I think you sent a strong message that you wanted us to be really proactive in getting grants. And I think we've been more successful for a small community than we could have maybe hoped. I don't think small communities typically see these types of dollars, and we worked really hard at that. If you look at the rolling average in 2018, 2019, 2020, that's probably fairly typical of the types of grant cycles that we get. But then we started to ramp that up in 2021, 22, 23, 24. And so in that period of time, that 6-year period, we've actually averaged about $4 million a year in grants. And when you consider our property tax base is only around $1 million, we've leveraged $4 million a year in outside money. That's actually a pretty good testament, I think, to the work that we've been able to do. Now, of course, administering all that money is probably a lot harder than getting all that money, but some would argue that point. Some would say getting it is really tough, but we've been able to do that. We have a $3.5 million grant application out pending right now. We'll see how that goes. So we're keeping that work up. I just wanted to continue to show you this. You saw this at budget during our budget presentation, but we talked about this again at the retreat. And I just wanted to bring this back forward that, we still do have, our budgets are still sustainable. We're being good stewards of the money that we're entrusted by both our business operations and our tax dollars. And, where you see those lines cross in previous years, that you could see where that correction point was that we took, and those lines are not crossing. And, that also has that 90-day reserve built in and those operation reserves that we need to have. So, okay, goal 2, support and encourage community involvement. We've done this through a number of ways. One is we've created some unique events that were targeted to meet some of those objectives. And some of the events were targeted to meet certain demographics in the community. And then through volunteer recruitment, you're going to see in a minute, our volunteer recruitment is quite high right now. Our community outreach program has been very successful. Our community art program has been very positive. We've got a lot of work to do with that. We actually would like to form maybe even a local arts commission that we've talked about doing that. And we've got a lot of art projects, at least conceptually in our minds. And some of those may have some funding around them, but we just haven't been able to tie that loose end up and move some of those projects forward, but we are. And they've been very well received. The projects that we've done thus far in the community have been some of our most positive attributes from community members when we get those comments back on our social media channels. They're always very positive. We work with groups like the SIT, the Santiam Integration Team, the Exchange, the Food Bank. We work with those groups to provide folks in the community with assistance. So, things like helping them pay their water bill, perhaps, or, maybe they've got a medical condition and they need assistance. But we work with those different groups along with the churches that we have in the community. And that's our mechanism to provide folks that are struggling with some relief, because one person may be struggling with a utility bill. The next person may be struggling with, family or some other type of issue that they're dealing with. So it's really more beneficial for us to have lots of sources to be able to outreach, and our support of our service organizations, the work that we do at the Corn Festival, where we distribute funds back to those service groups. I can tell you that's invaluable. That money goes back into providing relief to folks in the community, by far. This is just one of the comments. I put it up here because this is one of my favorite comments. And basically, this was a recent resident that had moved a couple of years ago. They got to experience some of the community events, and they said, I think we've moved to a magical town. Free corn in the summer, free pumpkins in the fall. It's like a Hallmark movie. And I think if there isn't any better testament to how we've built, put these pieces to this vision and this puzzle together than that, I really don't know what would provide that. So I just really like that. Our Corn Festival event, very popular. This year we added the car show. All of the things that we do have been very well received by the community. It's a lot of work. And we get great attendance, but and not always city residents, but that's okay too. We like attendance from neighboring communities, but it has been felt in the community as a positive effort. So our pumpkin patch, that's our newest event. We wanted to make sure that, you know, we realize that we have maybe some lower income families, and some of our events are structured to make sure that they get to experience all of these holidays and events. And so and then of course our Christmas event. And again, the comments, we've sprinkled these comments throughout here because we wanted council to see what we see when we're working with the social media platforms. And you know, we just get a lot of positive feedback from the effort. Some of you have volunteered and you've gotten that positive feedback in person. And I think there's Walter over there serving up at the last event. But it was this one just happened to be, we just had a lot of interaction with folks at this event. It was very, very good. And throughout the summer and spring, we keep those events going. And then, you know, our outreach. So a lot of the success that we've had to build that livability and outreach to the community has been our Facebook channel, our city website, the electronic sign's been a great tool, our promotional videos. Sometimes we do little skits, you know, that are funny. Sometimes we do informational videos. There's a comment from one of our county commissioners that was at one of our art dedications. And she just thought that was a great project for the city, and the county helped us with some grant funds for that. We added Text My Gov this year, and we are starting to get much more, I'm going to say, a method to the madness for working with volunteers, signing volunteers up. And it's really hard when you have volunteers that are in charge of volunteers, because they don't do that full time. And, you know, you remember that you need to coordinate, or you forget that you need to coordinate, and to have that done really at the city, I think just makes it go a lot smoother. It's a lot more work. There's no question about it. It's just something that we add to our plate, but I think we're dialing that in. I think we're getting that dialed in. So this is our volunteers. These are estimates. These are just folks that have actually signed in to a volunteer sheet. What we find is a lot of people come and they're so excited to volunteer, they don't sign in. And sometimes people are excited to leave and they don't sign out. And so to some extent, this is an estimate of just those folks that sign in. Our hours and our volunteer numbers are probably much larger than this, but 323 volunteers last year across our events, which I think is, when you consider that's 10% of our population, or just a little less than 10% of That's a pretty good number. So I think we've got robust engagement from the community and making the community is a great place to live, really. This was something that we tried. I think it was successful for at least one department, maybe not for everybody, but so we
It was
did
successful for the food bank. They're the big winners.
so we did a department-wide food drive, and a little over 4,000 items were donated. There may have been a couple of codes broken. I'm not really sure. I didn't investigate, but yeah, and the food pantry and the community really rallied around that effort by the city. So we'll probably try something like that again. Might have to structure some more rules around it, but otherwise, I think it worked pretty good. Public Works was keeping their stuff fairly quiet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they were way low and then they just shot up.
yeah.
The food.
They were hiding it. Yeah, they were hiding it. They put a sign out. I mean, listen, I could have resorted to these types of cheap tricks like this, but they basically just put signs out to tell people to bring their food to Public Works instead of City Hall or the police department. I don't know. So part of those direction from council was also to raise the visibility of the community and the work that we were doing here. And so we were honored at the League of Oregon Cities conference with the Good Governance Award, really for our outreach efforts that we've engaged in here in the community. And that's been a multi-year effort, but it was really nice to be recognized by our membership industry and our peers for that. So that was a good night. In addition to that, we've been asked to write articles for the League of Oregon Cities Focus magazines on how to put together large infrastructure projects to be successful. We've completed those articles. Hopefully you had a chance to read those. And earlier last year, Kirsty and I was invited to go to the statewide infrastructure summit and provide a presentation on our projects and outreach and how to jazz projects up or get people a little bit more engaged in infrastructure. And I will say that we've got a little road show that we do, and it was entertaining, and it did kind of become the talk of the summit. I think we had a lot of good interaction there, so it felt good to do that. Just some more of that positive results that we get from various people. You can see that we don't have any of the same comments because we've just got dozens and dozens and dozens of comments depending on the subject matter. The one art project that we had, I think the last time I looked at that, we had something like 600 or 700 people that had commented or reacted to it, gave a thumbs up or a heart or whatever. But yeah, great. And then our Santiam integration partners there, they really spread the dollars out that come from our fundraising efforts. So these dollars are fundraised that go into the service groups. They don't come out of our tax base. It's money that we raise from the efforts that we do when we put on the Corn Festival, basically. And I can tell you that they stretch those dollars out, and they do provide great relief for folks in our community. Got some comments on there. We had a water line break. The person that lived right next to that, her yard got some water in it. And she got on and said, that they did a great job getting that fixed right away. So And then, of course, there's our Grinch. These are some of those videos that we like to put together. The community really does engage into our community event type videos. And sometimes we create alternative characters and storylines, and it's just a way to get more people engaged. And we've seen an increase in both the number of folks that are signed up on our sites, as well as the engagements. And it's just the last 4 or 5 years, it's quadrupled in the number of folks. So but yeah, the Grinch, I don't know what's going to happen with him next year. He's probably going to be up to no good again, I'm going to guess. We do a lot of events besides our city-sponsored regular events where we invite the community. We also do a lot of other events where the community can engage. National Night Out is one that's a low, maybe on a smaller scale participation, but we're in 5 or 6 locations throughout the city. Fall cleanup, spring cleanup. We work with some of the local industries to get free composting. For many years, we worked with an outlet to provide free seeds so people could community garden. And then, of course, our multi-language outreach, our mayor's contest. And then this year we added the circus, which turned out to be just a great event. It wasn't that difficult, and it was a nice little fundraiser. And the community just loved it. So they don't come every year, they come every few years, but you just don't see them around much anymore. So create an attractive environment to retain and grow business. So, this year we were able to approve our interchange development project. So that was about a 36-acre commercial development improvement right off of 22. As council knows, that's been on our list for many years. And so we're able to get that approved this year. Clover Street subdivision, they're getting ready to pull permits on that right now. And so we do anything from large development to just local single owner businesses, like the Patet Staffing Agency next door here, partnership with Figaro's Pizza on some 6th Street improvements. But all of these things that you see here are things that we do to help promote and grow businesses. One of the things that just in our recent conversations with SEDCOR, they've changed some of their programs to be geared towards assisting small businesses open, improve, and grow. And in past years, they've strictly been targeting large industry businesses, but now I think they're finding that there's a lot of value into assisting local communities with their business growth and development. So they're going to be doing a lot more work in that area, and they've actually already got a bunch of programs up and running. So, and then these projects right here are all projects that are in progress right now. Those 6th Street improvements that we just talked about, the purchase of our electric trucks for public works through that ODOT grant. We haven't actually, I don't think we've gotten the contract yet. We're waiting on that still. And then we can move forward with that. Our Heiberger Park project, we received a grant for that. The Heiberger subdivision manhole repairs. Oh, I think I got that on there twice. The emergency fuel station, which you just approved tonight. And, oftentimes when we do projects, they might touch on multiple goals. So, that emergency fuel station, that might hit goal number 5, but it might also hit goal number 2. And then our playground equipment and our new ongoing wastewater treatment project. And then this is our wastewater treatment facility. So our final design's been approved. It's actually not complete. It'll be completed a little bit later this year. We did complete the utility rate study. We've already begun the community outreach on the implementation of that rate study. And then we did approve the SDRs and it's SBRs, right? SBRs and the DAF equipment. So those are approved.
I think that's actually for the land use.
Yeah. Okay, that's the floodplain development permit, then the SDR. Okay. And so then we're missing one, which is the SBR equipment approval, which you did on the 31st of last month, just in the nick of time. Again, we completed this 1 million gallon reservoir project. I actually think it's just a fantastic project that will be kind of an icon for years to come. We did take a tour with our state representative. Council took a tour at during their retreat last week. But I just also wanted to put some of the positive feedback we got from the community. And I think what's important is a lot of this feedback is self-generated. We didn't go out and solicit this. We didn't put pictures of the projects out there or the project out there and say, you know, look what we did. This was just members of the community said, hey, did anybody notice the new water tower? And that just started kind of a cascade of comments. Oh, there we go. And here's a quick time-lapse video. I think it's pretty amazing how they kind of raise it one level at a time.
Are those red things the jacks that they use to just lift it up?
Yes.
Cool.
So one interesting note about that project, that was about a $4.3 million project in total. And we paid for that either with grants or with system development charge funds. So at one point that we would have needed to get a loan and incorporate that into a rate structure, but we were able to do that without any impact to the utility. And then our public workshop, as you can see, we actually do have, I think council saw a time lapse video previously, so we're not going to show you another one, but just a great facility compared to what we've been operating out of. It's really propelled us forward into our facility, new facilities for the community that are sustainable. Our Third Street project, I think you can see that there was a pole that needed to be removed and then some striping could be completed, but it's a nice wide street. And then just, we do a lot of things here that we kind of forget about, you know, they seem almost secondary because they're just things that we need to do. The water management and conservation plan, we completed that this year, the sewer cleaning inspection, you know, just all of those things that they're not a build somewhere, but they're projects that really consume a lot of time and effort, so. Ensure a safe and prepared environment. So, you know, we do a lot of education in that realm. We do a lot of outreach to the communities. We do some events. We do the elementary bike rodeo. We are fully staffed in the police department. And we've had really great success with recruitment. With our police department, as a matter of fact, we've had to make some tough choices because we've had a lot of good candidates. We did also, Officer Robinson is now a CPR instructor, and we're offering those classes to just general community members to come in and take. And then one of the other things that we're starting right now is we're starting to get the department accredited. It basically, it's where they come in and they kind of audit our procedures and policies, and there's some standard universal policies that we end up adopting, and then they make sure that we're adhering to that accreditation. So we're working on that right now. We did, we did buy 3 new police cars this year. And that was part of our vehicle rotation plan that we put in place a number of years, and we're able to execute that. And then goal 5, provide the city services that are responsive. You know, just out getting all of these grants, I think trying to keep the cost of rates down to the community is good. Being able to extend either our tax dollars or revenue that's generated from residents. So anytime we can get a grant, extend our dollars 2 to 1, 3 to 1, 4 to 1, we're trying to do that. Renegotiating all of our agreements and contracts to keep those contracts and agreements up with the rate of inflation. Our community events and programs, code enforcement, that may not seem like, it may seem secondary, but it really just does consume a tremendous amount of time. And if you're on the receiving end of code enforcement, you're probably not very happy, but if you're a community resident that relies on code enforcement to elevate their livability because of an issue with a neighbor or something like that, it's their really only mechanism for relief. And so, you know, it's a necessary function of a city, especially if we're concerned about livability. But I will tell you that it's just one of those things that create a lot of work. And that's all I'll say about that. Aumsville PD responded to almost 2,900 calls in 2023. So that's up about 12%. Part of that is that we're actually more engaged in the community. So, you know, the officers are being a lot more proactive, and that does increase those amount of calls. And then constantly keeping our development ordinances updated, so we're keeping up with the newest state laws. And as you know, there's some challenges always with that as well, but and then just we deal with a lot of calls at City Hall, so we're constantly responding to questions about land use or how to open a business or whatever that function might be. Sometimes we get calls from outside the city and they just don't know who to contact, and we direct a lot of that, so. So I think hopefully council would agree as we end the presentation. I did say I would keep it shorter this year, and I kept it under an hour. I'm very proud of myself because that was the promise I did make to council.
For sure.
But I hope council would agree that we are moving in a positive direction. We had some milestone projects this year when you think about the progress that we've made with a lot of our infrastructure. For a city our size with the budget that we have, we've been able to bring a lot of value to the community. I think we've made progress on every goal that the council has, if not accomplished a number of those goals, and we'll continue to do that. As council gives us new goals and objectives, we'll continue to meet those as you direct. But right now, I believe that we still have a lot of challenges. As council's aware, our wastewater facility is a big challenge, and we're handling that. But we've got a lot of other infrastructure challenges with older water systems and our road systems and our stormwater management system in the community, our stormwater retention in the community. But we've got plans, and we've got ideas on how to tackle those within the constraints of our resources, and we are making a lot of progress. Our finances, our staffing, our operations, our programs, right now they're sustainable into the future, and that they're sustainable because we've set some aggressive goals, but we've also managed the finances and the resources within those goals. So the expectations align with the resources. And so I think we're moving in a positive direction. I think the state of our city is as bright as it's ever been. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Nice to have you guys.
Thank you. That was a great report, Ron. Anybody else have questions for Ron?
Overtime, 10 more minutes.
You want him to repeat something, Greg?
That was good.
Okay, so are we ready to move along to mayor and council reports? Anybody have anything?
I'd let you know, we hit 110 families last Thursday at the food pantry. Donations we received and continue to receive are really helping us supplement what we get from the food bank and the food share. Because it isn't enough to meet the needs of our community without that additional help we've been getting.
Awesome. If you could just keep us posted if they have a particular need, I mean, we can certainly help try to round something up if you have a particular need.
Mostly food.
I mean, anything specific that you're running out of or that's in high demand?
All of it. The list is at City Hall, on the donation bin and on the counter. There's a printed list that people can take that shows what we need. And it's also at the fire department and the Riverview Bank and the church. So.
Are there any baseball fans? Cascade High School baseball boosters just did a big fundraiser 2 weeks ago. We did a dinner in Turner. They're trying to get turf, actively trying to get turf. I don't know if you guys have been to the baseball fields, but it's a sad show out there. So we raised like 36,000 in one night at dinner. at an auction. And so don't be surprised if the baseball team comes in here and tries to hit you up for corn festival help to get in on that list. I'm guessing this summer. They're looking for more money.
We refuse nobody.
Yeah, you get
We'll take
about
'em.
30 good boys that'll come in and do whatever you want. That was one of the things they auctioned off was 8 hours with the whole team. I think that one brought in a couple grand.
Wow.
Do whatever you want, yeah, so they're getting the pitcher's mound and home plate done on boys varsity baseball and the girls softball varsity field out of that money. But still like 150,000 shy, I think, so they probably need Ron Kirsty for a few hours to get some money for them, maybe round it up.
That's awesome. Hey, Ron, Bridgeway did commit to doing the superhero carnival again next year. They're excited about that, so put them down for that.
Yay. There's a food truck that we have.
Anything else for mayor council reports? Okay, anybody have anything for good of the order?
So, I guess I'll just chime in and give you a preview. So as council is aware, we do have a presentation coming up from Public Services. That'll be February 10th. They'll be asking for a rate adjustment for their utility as well. There'll be two actions because a few years ago, the state passed their recycling program laws into place, and one of the options was that either the city had to create a recycling program, meaning we'd have to have a recycling yard and it would have to be staffed and things like that, or we could defer that to another entity, and we deferred it to Republic Service. So they kind of commingle those facilities to save money, and some of that fund doesn't come from us. It comes from a state pool that was created through the recycling rules. And so that will be the second action. One will be their rate adjustment, and the second will be approving the funding agreement that allows them to continue to access those funds. For us, it's a good deal because honestly, if we had to meet the requirements of that program all on our own, it would be really difficult for us. So that part of it is certainly good. And so I just want to give you a heads up. We'll get all that stuff out to you as early as we can so you can review it, and feel free to ask, whatever
Are you
questions.
still gonna drop language so that kind of takes it away from us in the future?
Yeah, so basically what the language that we're looking at drafting in a resolution, it'll have to go through legal, but right now, the way that it's set up is they come every 4 years or so with a large increase. And the way the language is set up isn't that council sets the rates, but they have to come and provide us the justification, and we deem that it's reasonable based on the financial analysis to approve or not approve rates. And so the difficulty there is, on one hand, we can't really say no. I mean, we could if we could show that there's something not correct in their analysis, or that we think that they're charging a higher profit margin than they should. But the reality is oftentimes with the smaller communities, they end up falling behind, which in this case they did as well. And they're I think want to say 10% is the outlined profit margin that they're supposed to target. And in a lot of cases, they're either losing money or they're at 1 or 2%. So they're really not meeting that 10%. I think right now they're actually losing money. So it's really hard to say you can't do that. So it puts you in a really difficult position. And one of the alternatives that we've discussed is in the language, in the resolution language, if we could align the authority to just allow them to raise rates as long as it's consistent with the inflationary rate or COLAs or something like that, then people would see small incremental increases and not these large increases. And it kind of takes some of that burden off of your shoulder to try to determine how much profit they should or should not make as long as they meet up with inflation. Council can always, through our ordinance, they could always, convene them to come back in and justify their rates at any time that you want to do that. But we'll have a threshold there where the rates can't exceed, a percentage in any given period without, if it goes over that, then it would have to come to council for approval. So instead of approving it like you're doing it now, it would just be if they're looking for a larger increase than whatever we set that threshold at. And you could put that anywhere that you want. I think we're proposing 4 or 5%, but you could put that anywhere.
That puts us in a weird spot. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody, you get your bill increases at home and you just want to call the other providers and get prices. I mean, there's not
Yeah.
many out here where we got Pacific Sanitation.
Yeah, and we've actually done some analysis and the difficulty is, it's we're actually one of the lower rates around. I mean, we might find a rate here and there, but where is that company at in their rate analysis cycle too? So I've looked at it and we're actually fairly comparable. I wouldn't say we're low, but we're not high compared to what I have seen in the surrounding areas by other providers, including you mentioned a larger provider in Salem. So I even looked at their rates, which are much higher than our rates.
Yeah. They wouldn't come out here, I bet.
Yeah, and their
Pacific
rates.
would. I mean, I don't know what you'd do if you talk to somebody at Pacific, say, hey, what would you do if you want to take on 1,527 customers just like that? I don't know
Yeah.
what they'd offer you. Like switching to Dish, you're gonna get a $400 gift card. On this rate for years.
Yeah, for a year, and then your rates
And
go
then
through the
you're gonna
roof.
battle the
Yeah.
same thing, yeah.
So you're battling the same thing. So
And you have a
I
good
mean,
relationship with Republic.
you can look at them and look at their stuff, but one of the things that I found out that they don't charge for, they charge for extra bags, but they don't charge for excessive fill of your can.
I've never seen an extra charge.
Yeah, and that's one of the things in Salem, if your lid is peaked 3 inches or more, you get an extra charge. So we don't
Jump on
get
it.
that in the rural
Smash it
areas. So, it's, yes, I know that they're asking for an increase and they can justify their own increase, but when we look at the comparables that, it's just the times we're living in, everything's going up, so.
What's the most common? Do most cities just allow them to do that into that agreement? Or do they?
Well, it isn't very common. Most cities just do the approval every time there's a request for one, but it's becoming more common. We suggested it a number of years ago, 4 years ago, the last time they came in for a rate adjustment, because it just seemed like a huge burden on council. It's not like you can say, no, you got to have garbage service, but how do you know where their finances put this justification at? And since then, though, Republic Services has pitched it to other cities, and there's a number of cities. I think most of the cities in our area either have transitioned or are transitioning to that same model. So they looked at it and said, yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense to us.
They said that last time. So they
Yeah.
Visited every year or 2
Yeah.
years. And
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Anything else for good of the order? Okay, this says no correspondence. Has anything since this was printed out come in?
We have a letter from the Exchange Club.
Was there correspondence?
It's just that letter from the Exchange Club.
Just thanking us for our support of the gift of 4,000 to the organization for supporting Aumsville Corn Festival in August and what they do with it.
Awesome, thank you. Okay. Anything else for correspondence?
So,
Nope. And we have no executive session planned? Is that
No.
correct, Ron?
No
Okay, anything
executive-
else?
No,
What's
no
that?
executive session planned. I do think it is a council member's birthday tonight, though.
Uh-oh.
I think it's
Oh,
Councilmember Sini's birthday, and so I believe Steve is here to help us celebrate her birthday after the meeting.
Sorry,
Nice.
Doug.
Sorry, Doug. Now, you're gonna have to just celebrate on your own.
I will. I definitely will do that. All right, anything else before we adjourn? Happy birthday, Della.
thank you.
Anything else? Okay, we'll adjourn the meeting at 8:11.